What's going on, everybody? It's Childish. We're back at it again with another video for you guys all today. Thank you all so much for tuning in. We're going to be talking about Khmun, one of the top trending units on the Guild War defense side. And to help me out with that, we have ourselves our EpicFail.Delta Leader, Badhands. What is going on, my man?
Not much, Childish. How are you?
I'm good, sir. Thank you for asking. So let's go ahead and answer the three questions that we have for the community out there. Why is Khmun so good? What are some of the defense that we utilize this unit in? And then, of course, the number one question, how do we go about countering this unit with obtainable units that you all can get? First one that we got here, Khmun, the Fire Anubis. Let's take a look at a skill set and talk about why it's so good. Out of the four main attributes here with the three skills and a speed leader skill, let's talk about the main ones that just make or break this unit here. We have ourselves Soul Devour, being able to do damage proportionate to its max HP and recover 50% of the damage dealt, giving that this unit the opportunity to self-sustain. And then the damage increases, as you guys see on the bottom there, the damage increases as the enemy's HP becomes lower. This also can be brought down to a 2-turn cooldown, and for all the people out there, when it comes to natural 4-star units and 2-turn cooldown abilities, that's pretty rare. You don't see that too much here. And then last but not least, on this third skill here, Savior, the passive, being able to grant the shield with a 20% of your, equivalent to your 20% of your HP for 2 turns, and to the ally with the lowest HP ratio. And of course, one of the most widely sought after leader skills when it comes to Guild Wars. 24% leader skill. I can't get enough of it. For those who've seen some of my videos prior to, I know that my Khmun has done anywhere from 20 to 25 to even upwards of 35k damage on that second skill when the enemy's HP was about lower than 30%, and that was again with no critical damage. So that's the really cool thing about this unit here. Built really tanky, can self-sustain, and the value of keeping an HP rune on 4 is not only going to help him stay remotely tanky, right? But the aspect of his passive being able to provide a little bit more shielding on your units is just going to make him that much stronger here. So let's take a look at some of those defenses here. What is your first one that you think a lot of people love to use on this one?
Well, the main one that a lot of people use right now is Cumin, Orion, Theo. Reason why is because Cumin has that speed lead, so it's going to make your Orion faster, so it's going to most likely gain you that first turn. And then Orion's also got buff removal, his defense break, and then Theo obviously is going to nuke down pretty hard. And then if Cumin is going last, if Theo hits, let's say a fire target or a wind target, Cumin's going to be doing max amount of damage on that second skill. So it could set you up for a pretty good amount of damage coming off on right on turn 1. Also, people use that because normally, Theo's built a little squishier, not a ton of HP.
Right.
So he's going to give that shield to whoever has the lowest amount of HP. So Orion or Theo, either one, whoever's got less HP is going to get that shield and help them survive a little bit longer as well.
Gotcha. And of course, let's say if you're using Orion for your a different type of Guild War defense here, there's obviously some other options. I would have to say to pair in line with the Cumin, Orion, Theo, one of my favorite teams that you see quite a bit out there in the community is Khmun, Theo, and Chasun. So Khmun, Theo, Chasun is going to be a little bit slower, but again, it still provides that speed lead to give Theo a little bit more damage. Combine that with Chasun's attack buff and ability to basically save a unit with regards to Fallen Blossoms. It just pairs so nicely with Theo and his passive, not allowing him to die, in one hit. So the combination of the heal from Chasun paired with the shield, I think is extremely strong, and I think that's why it does exceptionally well in the mid-game ranks.
It's also really hard with that Chasun and Cumin. They're both keeping you basically have 2 supports, but at the same time you have 2 damage dealers. Because right. Cumin's offering that shield, but then also can do that damage. So it might look like you're running double support Theo, which has been a very popular comp for a long time. But since Cumin can actually do damage on that second skill so much, you're really running a double threat with Chasun, but at the same time running double healer Chasun. So double healer Theo. So it does work out quite well. Another really popular comp is Cumin and Ritesh and Theo. For kind of the same reasons. It's a triple threat comp because all 3 of them can do damage. Ritesh can heal, Cumin can give you that shield, and then you have Theo as well to do quite a bit of damage on there as well. So you're really, it's one of those teams that's very annoying to deal with because you're getting a lot of defense breaks and it's a rainbow comp, so all of them are different elements. So it's going to be hard to bring in a good offense against that's going to be able to kill all 3 of them easily, and they all have kill potential.
Yep. Definitely, and kind of similar to what we were saying with the original one, the original Khmun Orion X. This Cumin and Ritesh can pair really, really well with Orion if you're looking to get that first turn. For me personally, I've seen it used a little bit there, but I see more of a Khmun Theo Ritesh versus the Orion Ritesh because I feel like Theo has that opportunity to KO a unit, but don't get it twisted here. Khmun Orion Ritesh still has that ability to manipulate the opponent via the stun from Orion, via the provoke from Ritesh. Definitely can catch you off guard if you don't have the proper will, and even if you do, with Orion in there, you can remove that buff and kind of set them back if they're using some kind of shield will combo there.
And the also hard part with that is with a Cumin Orion like Ritesh, you have 2 universal defense breakers. So Ritesh can armor break the whole team, Orion can armor break the whole team. So you're adding in that much more threat where you can't really just bring in a single tank to be able to tank out like Ritesh or Cumin. It's a little easier for them to go on different targets.
Yep.
Another one I've seen pretty often is Cumin Orion Recon, which is really annoying because Recon's himself hard to kill. That one's a little bit easier to tank out with certain units, but its kill potential is there because it's hard. It's going to be very hard to take out Recon with a Cumin shield plus an Orion going crazy on you. So it's lacking defense break a little bit because it's just coming from Orion, but we all know, especially with Orion on Violent, it doesn't matter that they nerfed his skill 1. He still procs a lot.
Yep, he does. This particular team, though, I feel like with having the main units here being able to the same element there, I feel like it can definitely be a little bit more exploded when it comes to bringing a full water team or whatnot. What do you think about that?
It definitely can. That's the downside to like a team like that where you're stacking fire. You'd only really want to run that if your other team had a similar counter to it. But Recon is kind of like Perna. It's for whatever reason they crit on every element when you don't want them to.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. And last but not least, this is the kind of one that I really am excited that Badhands mentioned this one here because this is one that we constantly forget about when the unit came out. The Fireheart Raccoony, combining that with Khmun and Theo, I mean it just works wonders. Raccoony providing that speed buff in there to give Theo a little bit more DPS if he gets Resurge, paired up with Raccoony's passive, being able to remove 2 harmful effects and provide a small heal. Again, that heal being combined with the shield, it's going to give 2 different ways of keeping your unit alive. I just really like it, even though the unit or the team in and of itself revolves around Theo and just making him do a little bit more damage. The attack bar manipulation is really, really strong. And when you think about the concept of Khmun, if it does decide to resurge Khmun, making it so it pops that shield up real quick, I mean, I just like the synergy of it. It's a little bit riskier. You got 2 fire units here, not as much elemental diversity, but I do like the synergy of this team.
What I also like about that team is you can run a slow Theo because Raccoony is going to resurge him up, whoever's the lowest attack bar. So you can run like a higher attack Theo here. And the main thing is if you can kill their damage dealer, like let's say someone tries to counter your team with, like a Theo and Chasoon and any other monster. In that your Theo can kill their Theo, it's almost impossible for 2 support or like support and 1 healer without a defense break to kill Raccoony and Cumin. They'll either going to get the win for you or they'll get the draw because there's too much healing, too much shields, and cleansing all the time. That's very hard in order to counter that. And if Raccoony's built really fast and he's moving a lot of turns, it's going to be hard to catch up with him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Cool. Those are the main teams we got. As always, guys, if there's any other teams that you've seen a lot that utilized in the G1 and G3 ranks when it comes to Khmun, please feel free to put it in the comment section down below, and we'll talk about that particular team. But let's move on to the bread and butter of this the video, the foundation of this video. What are the units that can counter Khmun? Now, as you guys know, there's a ton of units out there, Nat 4 and Nat 5 alike, that can counter it, but we're really concerned about the community as a whole and what units that you guys can get, to go ahead and counter this unit. We're going to bust out you a top 10 list that was provided by Badhands, and then we kind of restructured it to make it our own, but I think you guys agree on this particular this list of units here that I think it's going to work really well here. Let's start out with number 10. We got ourselves Platy, the Fire Mermaid. Why do you think it's so good?
All right, so with Platy, what makes her useful is that first skill she's got is the Mana Bubble. It's a beneficial effect removal with 50% chance. So it unfortunately doesn't go up any higher than 50, but having buff removal on skill 1 gives you a chance every single turn. You don't have to wait for cooldowns where she can remove Cumin's shield. She's also got a res/heal on skill 2, kind of like Beta. And then her skill 3 actually hits pretty hard. It's not based off max HP, but it's a pretty hard-hitting skill, and that also reduces cool times. So it's a pretty solid kit, but with only the 50% chance on the first skill, that's what puts her in at number 10.
Gotcha. And what do we got here? Number 9. Moving on to the one unit that's going to be criticized as far as the pronunciation goes. We looked it up. We Googled it because we're millennials, right? Cichlid.
Yeah. So with Cichlid here, she's got a mana bubble, which is it's the same as Platy, who we were just talking about. So the buff removal chance on every single turn. So the same thing with Platy, though. It's only a 50% chance, and she's wind element, so it's not going to work against as well Cumin himself, but could work very well against like Theos or Orions that are being used to counter with. She has Air Shield, which is the same skill that Molly has. So it's that harmful effect removal plus the bubble. And then her third skill is actually a pretty interesting skill. It's a defense break, buff removal, and skill cooldown reduction. So you can remove some buffs, put on a defense break, reduce their cooldown, especially for like against a Theo. That will reduce his passive as well. Because it's a skill that has a cooldown. So he can get fully reduced, and then you're able to kill him basically turn 1 by take the Cumin shield off, defense break him, and then have one of your own nukers go after her. So it's an interesting unit. The only thing with her is if you want to use her, Cumin's going to be hitting her the entire time. So you have to build her pretty tanky. Mm-hmm. So that's the only downside I can really see to using her. Is that she's got to be tanky enough to be able to take all those hits and still go before your other units, because you want her to go and make sure she's taking off all of those buffs first.
Mm-hmm. Right. And then the only thing that I have to add here on this one here, Crushed Hopes, it is going to be a reusable for 4 turns, but when you max it out, it's going to go down 3 turns, which again, of course, 3-turn, 2-turn cooldowns on natural 4-star units is really, really nice. So keep that in mind if you are one of the very few that were able to get that HOH unit and get a lot of skill ups, holding out for that Molly or Beta, whatever like that, you might want to reconsider into max skilling this particular unit so you can just take advantage of this third skill all day. Let's see what we got here. Next one up, Lisa, the Fire Neostone Agent. What's your take on this unit?
With Lisa, I mean, I think most people have a Lisa built now because of raids. Lisa's really become basically the R5 cleanser that everyone uses. Her skill 1's the same as all Neostone agents. It throws that glancing on there. But skill 2 is the one we're really worried about, which is cutting magic. It's a 100% chance to remove buffs before, obviously, actually resistance comes into play. And if you remove more than 2, your attack bar increases. So if, let's say, like you're going into like a Cumin Chisun Theo, Theo's got will runes, Cumin puts a shield on Theo, you can cutting magic the shield and the will rune off and increase your own attack bar by a little bit. So it's pretty nice that she can buff everyone's attack bar up, and then her attack command, which is what makes her awesome for R5, removes all your harmful effects and grabs 3 random selected allies, but there's only 2 in Guild Wars, so both of you will attack, or both your monsters will attack, and then you're able to attack that target. So she works really well as a support, being able to cut all those buffs off, and then also being able to cleanse you as well. So very, very similar to Kit to Cichlid, where she's got that buff removal, and then she can also remove beneficial or harmful effects.
Mm-hmm. I love it. And like for me, when I look at like this one, why it's at the position that it is, the 100% buff removal is pretty darn keen. You want to have something a little bit more reliable. The only downside that we can make an argument for this unit is the fact that it is a 100% buff removal, but it is something when maxed out, the second skill being maxed out is something that we're going to use every 3 turns, right? So ultimately, we're not going to be able to keep up with the Khmun every single time. But again, having the reliability of the buff removal is pretty darn strong. Do you have anything you wanted to add to that?
Nope, but it perfectly segues into our next person and why they're one higher on the list.
Boom. We got ourselves Mehgan coming up at rank number 7, the Water Mystic Witch.
All right, so the reason Mehgan is 1 up higher on the list than Lisa is for that skill 2. Skill 2 on Mehgan removes that beneficial effect, and then it blocks them. So you're actually getting 2 turns out of Mehgan's beneficial effect block, because you get to remove it initially. So we'll go ahead, remove it. but then it also puts that block on there so it can't be put on for another turn. So you're getting, basically, it's 3-turn cooldown, but you're gaining a second turn out of the skill by not allowing a beneficial effect to go on there. So that's why she's one up higher on the list, because then her third skill is kind of, because you would want to use that almost turn 2 to increase the attack bar and defense of all allies, but you'd actually want to probably Toad first to remove that Cumin effect and also block it from going on again. And if it's also, like, again, Cumin's used so much with Theo. If you put it on Theo, that negates his passive, allowing, like, let's say you're Theo, to go ahead and kill him.
Right. So coming up here, rank number 6, probably one of the more common units that people are going to be able to utilize countering Khmun is going to be none other than Miss Bella, the Light Inugami. Let's take a look at her kit real quick.
So I think at this point, everyone has a Bella. I mean, pretty much everyone knows how good she is. The really nice thing with Bella is that she's got 100% defense break on skill 1, and then skill 2, 100% beneficial effect remove. And then obviously her heal is what makes her really good. But that skill 2, 100% beneficial effect remove, so it goes down to 3-turn cooldown. But it's her whole kit that would makes it easier as far as countering Cumin, because she can buff remove. If she violent proc, she can defense break, setting your team up to do a little bit better than, like, say, Mehgan or Lisa would be able to do. So they're both fitting that same kind of role where they got that 100% defense break, and they can go and take it, and then they can defense break. Bella can defense break and help out your team a little bit more. And she's got a heal, so that immediately puts her up a little bit higher on the list because she's filling the buff removal slot and the healer slot for you.
The only thing I have to add to that is the fact that, a unit like this, while we're talking about the guild wars and providing, creating certain units, set them up with a certain amount of runes to do well in the guild wars. This is a unit out there that is a core unit in so many parts of the PvE progression. You really don't have to change the runes to kind of fit your role. Maybe a little speed tuning here or there, depending on what you're bringing to the team. But overall, I like the recommendations that generally people put for this unit, and so it's still, you're not going to have to do too much changes as far as fitting it into your comp here. What do we got here for number 5? Oh, moving into the top 5 here. Still in the light category, a past Hall of Heroes unit that we had. Hopefully you were able to take advantage of this one. Gemini, the Light Brownie Magician. Tell me a little bit about it.
All right, so with Gemini, one of the main things that makes him so good is he's got that speed leader, which is 19%, which is 5 speeds slower than Cumin's 14%. But you can also help you get a little bit ahead of the game, because if that Cumin Orion Theo, if you're pretty confident, like, okay, my Orion's really fast, I bet he's faster than the other person's Orion, or definitely by 5 speed, you can do a Gemini Orion X to counter Cumin Orion Theo. Or if it's like a Gemini, if it's Cumin Chisoon Theo, we're going to get that first turn if we use, like, Gemini and something else. We can kind of match that speed lead a little bit. So obviously it's not quite as good as Cumin's, but it's close enough where if you think you have superior rune quality, it might be easier for you to use Gemini to kind of counter, to go ahead of your opponent, or to go maybe I want to go turn 2, I might make my Gemini as fast. But the real thing that makes Gemini awesome is why when he was a Hall of Heroes monsters, pretty much everyone wanted him, is that skill 3, which is his passive, which every single time he attacks, he removes a beneficial effect. And then he's got the run on skill 1, which all brownies have, which is they just attack and then they have a chance to proc another turn. And then fly, which is the defense break, which is also a crushing hit, so it can't glance. So it will put on a defense break on any attribute, and if you build him to spare, he can stun as well. And on that first skill, he can still have that built-in violent proc. If he's on despair, he can go and attack and stun in and then get another turn as well. So just overall, for a speed team to, like, kind of counter a Cumin Orion, that's a pretty good option, just in case, like, that Cumin's a little faster than you. Or to go, like, turn, like, a little bit slower team. Okay, I've got Gemini. I've got my other units on Will. I know that Cumin's going to go ahead of me, but maybe it's Cumin Chisoon Theo. My Gemini is definitely faster than his Theo. So Cumin might go, and then Gemini might go remove defense break, and then you can start attacking it.
Right. So solid unit there. Let me see here. I actually don't have anything to add here. I want to move right into that top 4 here. We got ourselves actually probably one of your favorite units out there. If you guys have ever seen Badhands' video, he loves this unit here, the Water Neostone Agent Emma. Tell me how you would incorporate her in her team.
This is this is one of my OG Guild War units. Like as soon as they came out, Emma's one of those monsters. Over Lisa, over all the other ones of the Neo agents, I'm like, I want an Emma because really she's got the same two first skills as Lisa, the glancing, and she's got the buff removal skill on skill 2. But skill 3, that medical support, it's one of the only. I think it's actually the only units in the game that overheals. And what I mean by overheal, it means when she uses that third skill, whatever she doesn't heal for, like let's say you're at 99% HP, she heals you, the rest of that heal is put into a shield. So you're actually never wasting a heal with Emma, because even if you use it at full health, she's putting on a shield worth of half of your excess heal. So it's pretty nice that you're never really wasting a heal. Defense buff is one of the most underrated skills in the game for mitigating damage. And I've been using Emma to counter speed teams for a long time. How she works for Cumin, I would suggest on a will build, and for a team, like a turn 2, that he gets that buff out, their team attacks, and then she goes and she either removes those harmful effects. She can be used as a speed team and go first, but she removes their beneficial effects. So like a shield or like Cumin shield, and if there's shield runes as well on their team for some reason, she'll give you that attack buff. But she's a pretty consistent buff removal with that being 100%. And then I just love how her heal is. And that's really one of the reasons I use her all the time.
Yeah, nothing really to argue there. When I think about her, she's almost like a little bit of an upgrade of Bella if you have another unit within your mix to provide, some of the things that she lacks versus Bella, like a defense break or whatnot. Ultimately, though, like he was saying, the overheal with the shield, and then the defensive buff on hand, that defensive aspect takes in consideration with the shield, keeping it alive for you, so keeping you more alive. So ultimately, it's a really, really strong kill, a very overlooked third skill when it comes to this unit here, and that's why we got her placed so high up. Moving up to number 3, we have ourselves Chilling the Water Jack-o'-lantern. Badhands, why do you rate this unit so high?
Well, the biggest thing for him is his passive. It's that steal beneficial effect. Just that first couple words right there just tells you why this unit's good. Because Cumin goes, puts a shield on someone, Chilling can then go and steal it. So he's not just removing it, he's putting it on himself. So he's protecting himself a little bit more. Now, don't overlook the second part of his passive, which is the attack speed increases according to the beneficial effects currently on you. So if you're running like a will shield comp, and he's got will and shield, you actually don't need to build him as fast as your other units, because he's going to be gaining attack speed just by having that will and shield on himself. So it's a unit that doesn't take a ton of speed runes to get up really high as far as what you want to do if you're running in in a turn 2 complex like a will shield. But his ability to basically steal beneficial effects and keep himself alive from that is very good. His skill 2 is also very nice, which increases attack speed and crit rate. And then his skill 1 is attacks 3 times. So you basically have 3 chances to steal a beneficial effect. So the other reasons he's up so high is because most of the other people have only one turn to steal. And except for Emma and Lisa, they have 2. And then Cichlid has 3 on that third skill. But most of the other people on this list only have 1 time where they can go and try to block or grab the beneficial effect. Chilling is 3 times he can go. So it's just an extra way to go over that accuracy and res cap on him to be able to get out on top for you.
Gotcha. And with regards to this unit here, we've had a lot of more people utilize it. I think you said you use it a little bit more. What are some of the ways that you would rune this up if you were recommending it to the community?
The way I use him is I use him to go actually after my Theo Mars because I use him as a Theo killer. Because what will happen is I will go with Theo and attack down another Theo until his Endure's procced, and then I'll use Chilling to grab his Endure, and on one of the next 2 hits, he'll kill Theo for me. So that's what I use him for, and I use him in my Will Shield cleaves for that. For against Cumin, what I do is very, very similar, except that I change out 1 rune and make him faster than my Theo. And he'll still steal all the Cumin buff off of, say, whoever he puts it on. So Cumin, let's say, puts it on Raccoony. Chilling would go and take it off of Raccoony, put it on himself, and then I can actually nuke down Raccoon much easier.
Gotcha. Cool. All righty here. Coming up to the last 2 units that we have here, rounding out at number 2, Armada, the Wind Serpent here.
Armada is one of the most overlooked units probably in the game for Guild Wars. I know YDCB used her way a long time ago, but you don't see her used too much outside, like out in the YouTube verse or Twitch stream verse. But her biggest thing is her passive. It reduces damage dealt by fire attackers by 50%. So she's awesome in tanking Recons, Pernas, Leikas, anything that can do a lot of damage because they're only going to be doing half damage to her. But what makes her awesome for countering Cumin is that Cumin's fire, so he's going to be attacking Armada. And then her skill 1 is a strong sound removes beneficial effects with a 75% chance and attacks consecutively with a 30% chance. And it's proportionate to your max HP. So you can make her really tanky. She's going to do a decent amount of damage, and she's going to be firing off skill 1. It says 30%, but that's like Orion's 30%. It's a lot more than 30%. It almost always procs. And although it doesn't go over 75% chance, the reason I've made it up so high is that, like we talked about that Cumin Orion Recon comp, well, Cumin and Recon would both be attacking Armada, while your other 2 units aren't getting hit, allowing you to go a little bit more higher damage on your other 2 units, making it a lot easier for you to get the kill.
And when it comes to this unit here, if you guys saw our recent Educate Nominate Operation mid-game featuring B6, one of the things that he wanted to recommend when it comes to this unit is the concept of HP versus the defense. While we built this one in the tanky fashion when it comes to HP, let's not forget that value of defense and trying to get those defensive subsets to provide a little bit better effective HP. This unit here has really decent base HP when it's maxed out, but his defense is a little bit low compared to some other bruiser out there. So keep that in mind when you are building this unit here, as obviously even though this passive is extremely strong when it reduces damage, once that defense is broken, anything can happen, especially with Khmun being able to do more damage when his HP is a little bit lower, making it easier for him to get that KO. So anything else you wanted to add?
If you are running Armada, I would suggest either a Will Shield build on him or multiple Will sets. I do also suggest Revenge. Like I know mine's built Will Shield Revenge, so I have the shield for the other people, so I don't have to bring a shield set. But if he wasn't, he'd probably be Will Revenge. That multiple turns, especially because you're probably not going to build him too fast if he's there just to tank damage, because you're trying to really just stack up that HP. And like you said, don't overlook defense. But if you get that multiple will and give him an extra turn or 2 where he's not going to get defense broken, it helps his survivability quite a bit.
Gotcha. Alrighty, and last but not least, the number 1 unit that we consider to counter Khmun, and this is one that we went back and forth between Armada and this unit here. It's Orion, the Fire Ifrit here. So tell me a little bit about this unit and why in our eyes you feel that this one is the number 1 unit out there.
Well, now with them giving out a free your choice Ifrit after 5, Tessarian's easily obtainable if you put in the effort to try to get like multiple Theos or multiple Emirs or whatever you've been trying to get. So he is obtainable now. The big thing is his passive. I mean, that's the bread and butter of Tessarian. It's one of the only units in the game that puts on that Oblivion, and that basically makes it so other people can't use their passives. So Khmun can't use his passive when Tessarian has thrown on any attack that will put on Oblivion. Also, something very, like I said, we've been using Cumin, Orion, Theo as a very common comp. Theo's passive can't proc as well. So you could, if he's on Violent, your Tessarian, he could potentially stop Cumin from putting the shield out, stop Theo from using his passive, while, like, let's say your own Theo is able to then go and kill the other opposite Theo. So it gives you that little bit more advantage of being able to go in and be able to stop Cumin the easiest way possible, which is make his passive not work. So then you don't have to worry about the shield at all. And also, he can go right through Theo, who Cumin is almost always paired with, which is also the big deal with Tessarian here.
Yep. Yep, and this is one, even if you're coming up in the ranks as a mid-game player, Conquer 3, G1, G2, and whatnot, Tessarian is one of those units here. I think Armada falls in this category as well. Tessarian is one of those units that you're literally going to use to counter every single unit that has some kind of passive in the top 10 ranks. Everybody that has this unit, plays around with this one because at the top end of Guild Wars, there's so many key Guild War defense monsters that have some kind of unique passive, whether it's Khmun, the Win MK, Camila. I mean, a lot of people use these particular units here to counter those. So ultimately, you're going to get a lot of value out of this unit. So anything else you want to add?
The only thing I wanted to add is one of the ones that people might be surprised that's not on this list is Bulldozer. The reason he's not on this list is most Cumins are built over 40k HP, and some of the best Bulldozers can barely do 40k. And if you do not kill Cumin on that basically first turn, once he puts that shield on himself, it's almost impossible to break that shield through with like a Messity Copper Cumin. So that is also one of those. He's basically Cumin almost stops that team by himself if he's built with enough HP, because he's also got that vampire on that skill too, so he's going to be healing himself a little bit. He's got that shield up so that other people aren't, so you basically can't attack through it, and it makes it really, really hard to kill. So obviously if a Cumin, if you know for some reason it's not like a triple HP build and it's going to be over 40k, then you might be able to use Bulldozer, but most of the time he doesn't work, and you're actually going to probably end up losing your Copper Bulldozer team because of it.
Gotcha. And so all these units out here, of course, this is our top 10. We got a couple of other units to kind of mention out there. Some of the units that you guys are probably going to be surprised that are not on it here. Probably one of the more popular Guild War, offense and defense units out there, Orion. I mean, everyone already knows this unit, Badhands. So why don't you tell us, in your eyes, why you feel this one does not make the top 10?
The only problem with Orion is you've got two ways you can build Orion. So either you're going turn 1 with Orion, and I mean, I guess you could go turn 2, but most of the time his beneficial effect removal is only on one monster randomly, and you've only got it on your buff skill. So he only buff removes on his third skill, which is his buff. So if, let's say, Orion goes and he tries to buff removal Theo and stun him, but the shield is on Chisun, well, then we didn't actually counter Cumin at all, because Cumin's shield is still up, it's just on a different target, but we might have stunned some other target and might have defense broken another target, but he's a little bit too random to reliably remove that shield.
Right, yeah. As much as I want this one to be in the top 10, you guys know how much I love Orion. He does not fit that category here. All right, so next one up we have is Zinc on the honorable mention list, the Dark Living Armor. Again, Badhands, why do you feel this one doesn't make the list?
Zinc has got a block on his third skill, and he does a pretty good amount of damage with it, but the problem is you've really got to use him with something else that's going to nuke well, and so you run into the problem of like, okay, I'm going to run Galleon, Zinc, and X. Okay, let's say it's a mirror. Okay, well, I ran... put a Galleon's buff, I had Zinc go, and he blocked all beneficial effects, and then I'm going to be using a mirror to try to clean up. The problem is then become just killing Cumin. I'm sure it can be done, but you've got to put some very, very good runes on him to be able to block through that shield consistently, because Galleon's not going to help you, and like a mirror who's normally used with Zinc, he's not going to really be doing too much either. But the nice thing is, like, it does block beneficial effects, so it helps in that way, but it's hard to see a counter that's really going to work with him in it.
Right. And one thing that we neglected to mention that we've talked about in various videos, or you've seen other influencers talk about it, guys, is the concept of accuracy and resistance. We're talking about all these percentages on buff removal, whether it's 50, 75, or 100%. Keep in mind that these percentages are based on an activation rate. And after that activation rate or activation check is done, then you got the whole concept of accuracy versus resistance. So ultimately, when we think about the way how we build the units, once we got the units, with the strong rules, we got them synergized and whatnot, some of the things that we're looking at, to improve in our overall unit is going to be that resistance, especially on the defensive side. So definitely take note. When you're getting down to that last unit that you're trying to take it off there, nothing is 100% for sure with respect to a couple of units out there that have a little bit more reliability, like as a chilling or something of the sort here. But ultimately, you still have to deal with that concept of resistance. So keep that in mind when you're dealing with some of these targets. This is one that I haven't played around with, but I know you have built here. What do you like about this one?
I like all the Barbaric Kings. The thing is with Aegir is that the buff removal is on his third skill, and that's actually his nuke. So the problem becomes, like, yeah, it's good because you're nuking and trying to remove beneficial effects at the same time, but in order to really get some good damage out of him, he's going to be really squishy. And most of the time, squishy Guild Wars doesn't go hand in hand. Very few times you can get away with actually using like a more YOLO approach. He does have a good overall kit with the branding on skill 2, but he's just really not durable enough to last in Guild Wars. The one nice thing he does have an HP lead for Guild Wars, which is pretty good, so that helps his survivability out just a little bit, but unfortunately, probably not enough to really make him a huge viable option.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. And it's a shame too, because he's like, I think all the all the Barbaric Kings have just a really unique kit that makes you almost want to play around with him in other aspects of the game, but I can't pull it together as far as making him just fit in different comps, at least for me anyway. So that's pretty much it for the obtainable monsters, whether they're the common ones or the top 10 ones, and also the honorable mentions. I will provide you a list down below, as you can see already on the screen. We're going to provide you another list of some of the uncommon units, the natural 4-stars and natural 5-stars that you can utilize if you have them in order to counter this particular unit. That's going to be pretty much it for the video. Badhands, is there anything else you wanted to add for the fans there?
I think that's pretty much it.
All right, guys. So again, I hope this video was able to help you out. If you did, give us a like on the video. We would really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And once again, Badhands, thank you so much for coming aboard with me to assist me in providing this for the community.
Not a problem. Thank you for having me.
Well, all right, guys. That's going to be it. Thank you all so much for tuning in. It's your boy Childish and Badhands with ChildishPlays checking out. Take care, and we will see you next time, guys. We're out.